Alright, so today I'm going to be doing my quick review on the Superman movie, Man of Steel. Now, I'm revisiting this movie for the first time in a decade, and after watching the new Superman, I wanted to come back to Man of Steel to see if I still dislike this one, or if I was being too harsh on it on my original watch. And after my viewing, I can come out saying I almost feel exactly the same from when I saw it the first time when I was 12. Man of Steel has a lot of issues, but there's still some things holding it together. The suits and costumes in this movie are amazing. I love the Kryptonian armor, with the emblems being so rich in culture and design. Also, Krypton is portrayed very well, with a lot of the ship designs, other than the wieners, being pretty cool. The real standout of this movie is General Zod. He feels like the most relatable character, which is crazy considering he's a psychopathic, genocidal, war general alien. His motivations feel urgent and real. He wants to bring back Krypton and feels like the way it was destroyed was a great loss that needs to be avenged. He places some of this hatred and blame on Superman, and as a viewer, you feel his motivation. Michael Shannon also acts his ass off and is the only person in this movie with a shred of emotion and motivation. Whenever he's on screen, you immediately feel tense and on edge because he's completely violent and unpredictable. This is also more of a Zod movie than Superman. Michael Shannon has around 65 lines in this film, and Henry Cavill only has 100. The movie also starts and ends with Zod. When this movie was over, I wanted more of Zod and couldn't care less about Superman, and that to me is one of the biggest shortcomings of this movie. Aside from Zod, the action is good, but it barely pays off after the slog that's the first hour and a half of the movie. Now let's get into the negatives. This movie is not my kind of thing. I love characters, motivations, plot, and storytelling, and this movie doesn't really prioritize these aspects and instead focuses on designs, aesthetics, filters, Messiah-like imagery, action, and making Superman more of a god than a human. Everything that Zack Snyder prioritized in this film is everything I don't really care about in movies. The story is fine. The main issue I have is that Superman doesn't feel like the main character in his own movie, and I'm never given a reason to care about him. The story just kind of happens and Superman is thrown around in it. There's never a point where he makes a conscious choice to do anything other than what's expected of him. He does what he's told by his Earth father, then his birth father, then fights and kills Zod out of desperation and not conscious choice. He never feels like a relatable, hopeful, genuinely good guy, which is kind of the entire ethos of Superman. The character is just so fundamentally different from almost every iteration of Superman that it feels jarring. This wouldn't be the worst thing ever either, and just as Superman deviates from the traditional archetype, but at least does so in a fascinating and entertaining way. Every time Henry Cavill is on screen, he's either aura farming or mewing. He never shows any emotion. He's just trying to look hot and puzzled at everything people are saying, but he never actually says anything. And Henry Cavill is a phenomenal actor too, so I think this is more of a Snyder director issue. I don't care about Superman in this movie, and to me that automatically disqualifies it as being a good Superman movie. The first hour and a half is just going through the origin story motions by developing this character more by things happening to him, and not Superman actually changing or questioning these things. It's laughable how the closest we get to Superman pondering and showing any semblance of depth is when he's reading a book that has Plato and philosophy and big bold letters on the cover right before getting bullied. I feel like watching Superman in this movie is a chore. It feels like I'm trying to scrape the last bit of stale icing off of a cake board by trying to relate to this character. I want to extract any sense of humanity or morality from this character, but there's nothing to draw from. The worst part of this film to me is also Lois Lane. One of her lines, she literally says, "I'm a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. Why would blah 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 blah." Her lines are ridiculous this whole movie, and any scene with her and Perry White are laughably bad. The dialogue is horrendous, and the way she acts is so off-putting. I genuinely wonder what Superman and Lois's connection is supposed to represent in this movie. There is no semblance of love or connection from any of these two characters. It feels purely sexual, and even that's mainly because of Lois. The cinematography is fine. The digital zoom ins Zack Snyder adds to this movie are terrible and immediately wear out their welcome within the first 10 minutes. The CGI actually isn't that bad. The scenes where Superman are flying are pretty awesome and capture how fun being Superman would actually be. One of my biggest problems with this movie used to be Superman straight up killing Zod by snapping his neck, but on my second watch, that's not as bad to me now looking at all of the other issues this movie has. In a better film, that could have been a powerful, heart wrenching moment, but there's no natural build up to it, and it just feels edgy just to be edgy. I think the last sentence pretty much sums this movie up to a T. No character growth or development, no interesting motivations other than Zod. The tint of this movie is this ugly blue and dark filter. Lois Lane is abysmal. The first half of the movie is a complete snooze fest of exposition that just feels like a pill you have to swallow before any interesting action takes place. I think the best way to put this movie feels like a steak, green bean, and mashed potato dinner with a bite of steak, a few green beans, and an ungodly amount of mashed potato. So those are my thoughts on rewatching Man of Steel. I think it is a movie riddled with issues, but at the same time, I don't think it's a bad movie. I would give it a 5 out of 10, but I don't think it's a good Superman movie. If everything in this movie stayed the exact same, but you just replaced Superman with someone else, I would have probably really liked this movie. But the character assassination on Superman here is just so hard for me to ignore, especially after watching James Gunn's newest Superman movie twice in theaters. So let me know what you think. Is the Man of Steel movie overrated? Is it overhated? Is it better than the new Superman? Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.